It is Monday, September 19th. America under attack. Breaking overnight, another bomb explodes just outside of New York City. Investigators now scrambling to find out if it is connected to the blast that rattled nerves in both New York and New Jersey as 5 people are taken into custody. We are live with the breaking developments.
In an act of terror, the madman who went on a stabbing spree at a Minnesota mall was a soldier of the Islamic State.
Didn't say a single word, just walked right past me like a machine or something and walked into the mall.
What we just learned about the attacker and the growing terror threat to the homeland.
And terrorism is now front and center on the campaign trail with quick and differing reactions from the candidates.
Before I got off the plane, a bomb went off in New York, and nobody knows exactly what's going on.
I think we should, again, withhold judgment until we know more about what happened.
Fox and Friends First starts right now.
And good morning, everyone. You're watching Fox and Friends First on this Monday morning. Don't adjust your set. It's not the weekend. I'm Clayton Morris. Nice to see you.
And I'm Heather Childers. Nice to have you here with us.
Thanks for having me.
For the beginning of the week. And, of course, everyone, as always. We do begin with that Fox News alert, though. Very busy news morning already. Breaking right now, another bomb exploding overnight, this time at a New Jersey train station.
Yeah, and it comes just hours after 5 people with links to the New York City blast are taken into custody.
Let's get right to Rob Schmidt. He is live for us in Chelsea with some brand new details unfolding at this hour. Good morning, Rob.
Yeah, good morning, guys. And we were talking about Elizabeth, New Jersey, about 13 miles away from where I'm standing here in Chelsea in Manhattan, and multiple bombs found in a backpack in Elizabeth near a train station just about 13 miles away. As I said, 2 men calling in police reporting wires and a pipe coming from a package in the trash. One of those 5, as you said, unintentionally set off by police as a bomb squad tried to disarm what was inside of that backpack. Nobody was hurt, thankfully, in this explosion. The mayor of Elizabeth had this to say overnight.
There were multiple devices inside that backpack. One of those devices was being cut in order to disarm it, and as you all heard, the explosion occurred. So the other devices, I don't know what the FBI and the state police are doing at this moment, but they are trying to remove them.
Well, back here in Chelsea, here in New York City, surveillance video is all over New York City and all over Manhattan. So we've been able to see this explosion from multiple different angles. It happened right here behind me. We've seen this from all sorts of different angles, and we can show you some of that video. But police, 5 persons of interest have actually been found in Brooklyn. The FBI pulling over a car late last night with 5 persons of interest that they are now questioning. Not suspects at this time. That's happening all downtown. None of the 5, though, have been charged at this time. And again, so much of that video, as you see here, New York City, Manhattan, full of these cameras, people terrified, running from the scene. Incredibly, nobody was killed here in Chelsea. Nobody injured in Elizabeth. 29 people were hurt in the initial explosion that happened over the weekend. And we're also learning 2 witnesses reported seeing somebody dragging a duffel bag down West 27th Street, which is just a few blocks north of me here, on North 27th, or on West 27th. That may have contained that second bomb that did not go off, the second Chelsea bomb that did not go off. Video shows 2 other men removing a white bag from that duffel bag. Police say that may have contained the pressure cooker. The timing of all this could not be any worse, as the UN is convening here this week. The mayor and the governor of New York saying they're going to add 1,000 police officers in New York City to try and keep it secure. This is one of the busiest weeks in New York City. Here is what Governor Andrew Cuomo had to say, calling what happened over the weekend an act of terrorism.
It depends on your definition of terrorism. A bomb exploding in New York is obviously an act of terrorism, but it's not linked to international terrorism. In other words, we find no ISIS connection, etc.
So I think a lot of legislators were scared to call this terrorism initially. Nobody wanted to say it. Governor Cuomo coming out and saying it is terrorism, but not connecting it to anything overseas, to any group. We're just, right now, we know that setting off a bomb in New York City, according to our governor, is terrorism. But this morning, I think we're really seeing the scope of this and the scale of how bad this could have been with what we're seeing in Elizabeth. And now we have, a widening case. We have 5 persons of interest. And to think of how bad this could have been had this plan gone off as planned is pretty frightening. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
Yeah, one of the most populous areas there too, Rob, right? Newark, shutting down airplane traffic. Any effect on today, the traffic there at the Newark airport?
At this time, that's not to be seen. All this happening, luckily, not too far. Actually, there is an airport near Elizabeth, New Jersey. That's Newark Airport. But here in the city, that remains to be seen at this time. But you're right, Clayton. You said it. This is the heart of New York City. We're on 23rd and 6th. The Flatiron Building is just a few blocks away to our east. This is a very, very popular place, especially on a Saturday night.
Right.
This is where so many people would be going out, running around. This is where all the restaurants are. This is where a lot of the nightlife is. You certainly start to see what was, what these people intended to do.
Yeah, the last report I heard is that trains are shut down that are going specifically through that area, that train station specifically. What do we know in addition about these 5 people that are in custody? Any additional information?
Okay, you said trains. I was talking about planes. Yeah, no, right. Of course. The 5 people in custody right now just being called persons of interest. They were found underneath the Verrazano Bridge. They were driving on the Belt Parkway in Brooklyn. The FBI knew the car. They knew who they were going for. They found the car. They they pulled them over there last night in Brooklyn. And at this point, we do not know anything else about these 5. And it is at least 5. It could be more. But we believe they were all traveling in that car together. And right now, they are persons of interest. They're being held down at police headquarters in Lower Manhattan.
Well, a lot of pieces to put together this morning. Rob, thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Going to be a busy morning. Well, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, meantime, professor of strategy and irregular warfare at the Institute of World Politics, explains why the explosions in New York and New Jersey look a lot like the 2012 Boston bombing.
It's a very interesting fact. If you go back in time a few years, people associate the pressure cooker IED with Inspire magazine, Al-Qaeda's magazine, in which the instructions were given on how to build that device. And that's the device that was used by the Tsarnaev brothers in Boston. But people should also be aware that whilst they used 2 pressure cooker bomb devices in that attack in Boston, when they were being chased by the police, if you recall, they actually had multiple pipe bombs with them that they used to try and kill the police officers that were chasing them. So it may be a similar modus operandi, the combination of the pressure cooker bombs and the pipe bombs. So this could be somebody who's following exactly the same playbook.
All right, so there's much more information on this. Do not miss Dr. Sebastian Gorka live this morning on Fox and Friends at 6 a.m.
And another Fox News alert now. ISIS now claiming responsibility for the stabbing rampage inside a Minnesota mall. This morning we have brand new information about the attacker and the hero cop who took him down. The great Kelly Wright is here with the breaking developments on that. Good morning, Kelly.
Clayton, good morning to you as well. Here's what we know so far. Despite ISIS's claim, the FBI is calling what happened inside the Crossroads Center Mall a potential act of terrorism. The terror group praising the attacker as a soldier of the state. 22-year-old Dahir Aden was born in Somalia, but moved to the U.S. as a child. He was a junior at St. Cloud State University, just 3 miles from the mall. The city is about 70 miles outside of Minneapolis. The Somali community there has become a hotbed for ISIS recruits. 10 young men in Minneapolis have been arrested on terror charges since 2013. Now, inside the mall, Aden asked some of his 9 victims if they were Muslim before stabbing them. One of those victims describes the chilling moment he came face to face with Aden.
He didn't say anything, just walked straight towards me. I looked at the guy, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to fist fight this guy, and then I didn't know he had a knife. He just came up, I braced myself, side of the head, fell down to the ground. Didn't say a single word, just walked right past me like a machine or something and walked into the mall.
We are also learning about the hero cop who took him down. Jason Faulconer is a part-time officer who also runs a firing range. He was off duty when he confronted Aiden inside the Macy's. When he lunged at Officer Faulconer, he opened fire. Aiden went down, but got back up 3 times before he was finally killed. The dramatic takedown captured on a store surveillance camera. St. Cloud's mayor saw the tape and praised his heroic actions.
To me, in watching it, it looks like a training video for law enforcement, what law enforcement should do. Clearly, he made a decision, and if not for him being there, clearly this would have been much worse than it was.
Heroic actions from Officer Faulconer, who was not hurt, by the way. 3 of the 9 victims, well, they're still in the hospital, but will be okay. Heather?
All right, Kelly Wright, live for us. Thank you, Kelly.
Sure.
Well, turning now to the race for the White House, terrorism is front and center on the campaign trail just 1 week ahead of the first presidential debate.
Now, Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry is live from Washington, D.C. with how the latest terror attacks on the U.S. could affect the race. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Clayton and Heather. It's interesting you mentioned that debate is 1 week from tonight, the first clash directly between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Well, we got a taste of their back and forth Saturday night, immediately after that terror attack in Manhattan. Trump landed in Colorado for a speech and immediately called it a bombing and declared the nation needs to get tough and vigilant. Well, the Clinton camp quickly accused him of rushing to judgment without the facts. Except a couple of hours later, Clinton too called it a bombing, just like Trump. And in a brief exchange with reporters, Clinton looked so tired and cautious that the hashtag #ZombieHillary was trending. Watch.
I'm just concerned about any kind of incident that happens anywhere in our country, and I think we should, again, withhold judgment until we know more about what happened.
I think that what Donald did was perfectly appropriate to tell that group in Colorado Springs that a bomb had exploded. And listen, this is typical Mrs. Clinton. She has absolutely no basis to be critical of what he did yesterday. But since her campaign is only based upon that, that's the only issue she could go to.
Now, Trump has been surging ahead of Clinton in these key battlegrounds like Florida, so he is headed back to the Sunshine State today, in fact, while Clinton will be in Philadelphia trying to focus on winning over millennials who preferred Bernie Sanders in the primaries and could simply stay home in November in what would be a nightmare scenario for Clinton. Back to you, ladies. Oh, just kidding. Clayton's into there.
Nice. It's great if after 5 in the morning he can say Sunshine State clearly and articulately.
Rise and shine. Welcome, Clayton.
Nice to see you.
Thank you, Ed. Well, the time now is about 10 minutes after the top of the hour, and we've been telling you about this train station in New Jersey, a neighborhood in New York City as well, and a mall in Minnesota.
And a weekend of terror across America at soft targets. So how can we stay safe? Our next guest with what needs to happen right now.
We do not at this point in time know whether the subject it was in contact with, had connections with, was inspired by a foreign terrorist organization.
Fox News alert now. Investigators have yet to link the man who stabbed 9 people at a Minnesota mall with any foreign terror group, but ISIS-related media naming him a soldier of the Islamic State.
So how do we protect against attacks like this? Here to weigh in, former supervisor for the New York District Attorney's Criminal Court Unit, Paul Violas. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Pleasure having you.
I mean, so busy. Let's start with what has occurred in Minnesota. I mean, this is once again a soft target. Why are they targeting those once again, and how do we protect ourselves?
Well, first question is really the biggest one there, Heather, is why are they targeting those? It's low risk and high return. Where they're learning this from, clearly we know that the internet is being used, social media is being used to educate these people. They're attracting the disenfranchised, like this kid, and then they're teaching them their ideologies and their methodologies with respect to creating ordinance, planting them in where they should be so they get the highest return for their investment.
Well, this guy also was known to be a nice guy in the neighborhood. There was nothing sticking out about this guy. We all know nice guys in our neighborhood. So how do you protect yourself against a guy like this?
Right, and you know what, Clayton, that's really a great question, because we saw it in San Bernardino. We continuously see it. It's part of their teaching, to assimilate into a community and to become part of that community so you're beyond reproach. You're a great guy. You're a really nice guy. And the next thing you know, you see what's happening, here.
And a spokesperson for the Islamic State earlier this summer had a directive, correct?
Yes, there's no question about that. Now, if we look in the totality of this thing, Heather, I think the biggest thing we need to understand is the fact that This soft target ideology makes sense for them, because if it instills fear in the American people to live a normal life, Chelsea is a normal life, the mall is a normal life, movie theaters are a normal life, they're going to significantly impact the American way of life. And that's why, to your second question, what do we need to do? We're going to need more eyeballs. Law enforcement is not going to be able to do this by themselves. Not that we don't have 1.3 million great law enforcement officers, but they're not going to be able to do it by themselves. We're going to need more community involvement, and no question we're going to need a public-private partnership. Places like malls are going to have to dial it up and increase their level of vigilance and the quality of their security to make sure we're going to get much more preemptive than reactive.
Well, Paul, that's what you're bringing up here. I mean, that's a great point. The public's participation, we just saw that in Elizabeth, New Jersey, right? Someone sees a duffel bag right there. We didn't have, and that's the real trouble. I'm worried about these train stations across the country. I mean, think about it. You go to Lancaster, PA, there's no one there. You can walk right up to the train platform.
Clayton, you're absolutely right, and that's exactly what they're doing. But think about this for a real quick example. If you go to London and you go to a department store and someone leaves a backpack next to the counter, security knows, because it's part of their culture, security knows they're going to clear the store, they're going to isolate the bag. Hell, if you do that in, let's say, in New York, someone's either going to steal it or they're going to run up and pick it up and say, hey, you left your bag there. It's a matter of re-engineering our cultural thinking in our country so that we understand clearly we're in the embryonic stage of a fight with Islamic radicalists, and I'm going to say it, with Islamic radicalists in a variety of forms, and we have to change our cultural thinking so we're much more preemptive and much more involved.
Yeah, since you mentioned Elizabeth, New Jersey, let's move on to that. Being said that it's not an international terrorist, he's a local terrorist. So does that make any difference at all when it comes to the explosion that happened in Chelsea, New Jersey, at the race that happened earlier in the day, the fundraiser, the charity race, and then what's going on in Elizabeth this morning?
You know what, Heather, I heard that this morning, and I think it begs the question, what is the virtue of the difference between an international, well, he wasn't an international terrorist. So what? And the short answer to that is no, it doesn't make a difference. Whenever you are going to use an ordinance, strategically place it to instill fear and adversely affect human life, you are a terrorist. Now, what we do know, whether or not we're going to openly admit this so far, what we do know is the methodology that we've seen in New York and New Jersey already, that methodology clearly emulates what we saw in Boston, and we know where that learning came from. So the FBI and the PD are doing a phenomenal job, and they will continue to do so. But remember, it is not a sprint, it's a marathon. They're going to take their time, they're going to collect information, and before they show their cards, they'll make sure that they have all their ducks in a row.
Absolutely troubling. All right, Paul, thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate it, as always.
Always a pleasure, Clayton.
Thank you.
Well, the time now, 19 minutes after the hour. Under fire. Uber is under fire. What the company is accused of doing in the immediate moments following those blasts in New York City.
And politics front and center at the Emmy Awards. Did you see any of this? Hollywood taking aim at Donald Trump, with Jeb Bush making a surprise appearance.
Hey, you're driving? Yeah, I'm in between jobs right now. You know you can make $12 an hour driving for Uber?
That was pretty funny. The surprises and the snubs from last night's Emmy Awards.
And we begin with a Fox News alert breaking right now. Another bomb exploding overnight, this time at a New Jersey train station.
Now, this comes just hours after 5 people with links to the New York City blast are taken into custody.
Yeah, we want to get right to Rob Schmidt. He's live in Chelsea with brand new details unfolding at this hour. Good morning, Rob.
Yeah, Clayton and Heather, this is 13 miles away from where I'm standing in Elizabeth, New Jersey. A number of bombs found in a backpack at a train station there, and we just got video of one of those bombs unintentionally being set off. Let's listen to that. Oh, you can just hear the amount of explosives that were used there. This is one of 5 bombs that were found in that backpack. Unintentionally, this one was set off by police as a bomb squad tried to disarm it. Thankfully, in this case, nobody was hurt. 2 men had called police reporting wires and a pipe coming from a package near that train station in Elizabeth. Here is the mayor of Elizabeth speaking overnight.
The Elizabeth police responded, checked it out, and looked at it. Thought it could be a bomb, called the Union County Bomb Squad, who sent in a drone to examine it even further. The drone indicated that it could be suspicious and it could be a live bomb.
What is happening in Elizabeth is causing a lot of disruptions to train service in and out of New York City and at Newark Airport as well. Back here in the city, though, as we update the rest of this story that has been expanding for the last 48 hours, in Chelsea, surveillance video has led police and the FBI to make, to find 5 people of interest, persons of interest in this case, and to do it rather quickly as well. FBI agents pulling over a car in Brooklyn that we understand contained at least 5 persons of interest in this case, not being called suspects at this time. They are all being interviewed downtown. None of the 5, again, have been charged. So much video of that explosion has surfaced. New York City, especially after 9/11, is just rife with cameras everywhere, especially here in the city and in neighborhoods like this. There are not only surveillance cameras from police, but from business owners as well. We've seen so much video of people running from the scene, horrified. Incredibly, nobody was killed in that explosion in Chelsea, though you see the violence of that explosion. 29 people, though, were hurt. We're also learning that 2 witnesses reported seeing somebody, a man dragging a duffel bag, a man that was described as being not from around here, somebody that maybe looked like they didn't belong, dragging a duffel bag down West 27th Street, which is just a few blocks to my north. That bag was dropped there, and then video shows 2 other men getting into that bag and pulling out another white bag, which police say may have contained one of those pressure cooker bombs that did not go off, that second Chelsea bomb that didn't go off. Now, of course, the timing of this could not be any worse. The United Nations, which is located on the city's east side in Midtown, is convening this week. This is already a big security challenge for the NYPD, as so many dignitaries will be here. The president will be here. Now, even more complicated by what appears to be some sort of a terrorist attack happening in New York City just in the days before it begins. The governor, Andrew Cuomo, New York's governor, has called this an act of terrorism, but the mayor of New York City stopped short of saying that. Let's listen to him.
This was an intentional act. I want to reaffirm what I said last night. But again, we do not know the motivation. We do not know the nature of it. We're not taking any options off the table. I want to be very clear about that. All possible theories of what's happened here and how it connects will be looked at.
So that's New York City's Mayor Bill de Blasio. Again, we're just starting to get a look at the scope of this thing, and we don't know if we're going to find anything else out today either. It's been a very busy night, actually, but very scary to see just what was intended of all of this. Thankfully, though, so far, nobody has been killed. 29 injured here in Chelsea. We'll send it back to you.
Yeah, thank goodness for that.
All right, Rob Schmidt live for us this morning. Thanks so much. We want to get to another Fox News alert now. ISIS now claiming responsibility for the stabbing rampage inside a Minnesota mall. And this morning we have brand new information about the attacker and the hero cop who took him down. Kelly Wright is here with the breaking developments on that story. Good morning, Kelly.
Clayton, good morning to you as well. Despite ISIS's claim, the FBI is calling what happened inside the Crossroads Center Mall a potential act of terrorism. The terror group praised the attacker as a soldier of the state. 22-year-old Dahir Aden was born in Somalia but moved to the U.S. as a child. He was a junior at St. Cloud State University, just 3 miles from the mall. The city is about 70 miles outside of Minneapolis. The Somali community there has become a hotbed for ISIS recruits. In fact, 10 young men in Minneapolis have been arrested on terror charges since 2013. Now, inside the mall, here's what happened. Aden asked some of his 9 victims if they were Muslim before stabbing them. One of those victims describes the chilling moment he came face to face with Aden.
He didn't say anything, just walked straight towards me. I looked at the guy, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to fist fight this guy, and then I didn't know he had a knife. He just came up, I braced myself, side of the head, fell down to the ground. Didn't say a single word, just walked right past me like a machine or something and walked into the mall.
That's quite an ordeal that young man's talking about. We're also learning about the hero cop who took Aden down. Jason Faulconer is a part-time officer who also runs a firing range. He was off duty when he confronted Aden inside the Macy's. When he lunged at Officer Faulconer, he opened fire. Aden went down. Check this out. He got back up 3 times before he was finally killed. The dramatic takedown captured on a store surveillance camera. St. Cloud's mayor saw the tape and praised his response.
His heroic actions are exemplary, having witnessed what he did as the suspect was lunging at him with the knife. He clearly prevented additional injuries and potentially loss of life.
He took action. Officer Faulkner was not hurt, by the way, and 3 of the 9 victims are still in the hospital, but we're told they will be okay. Heather?
Kelly Wright, live for us. Thank you, Kelly. We're turning now to the race for the White House and terrorism taking center stage at the campaign trail, just 1 week ahead of the first presidential debate. Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry is live for us this morning from Washington, D.C. with how the latest terror attacks on the U.S. could impact the race. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Heather. Interesting, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton headed for their first debate, in fact, 1 week from tonight, but we already got a taste of those fireworks to come over this weekend, because immediately after the terror attack in Manhattan, Trump landed in Colorado for a speech and called it a bombing and declared the nation needs to get tough and vigilant fast. The Clinton camp immediately accused him of rushing to judgment without the facts. Except a couple of hours later, Clinton too called it a bombing, just like Trump. And in a brief exchange with reporters, she looked so tired and cautious with her words that the hashtag #ZombieHillary was trending. Both candidates were off the trail yesterday, leaving their vice presidential picks to weigh in on all of this terror talk.
It would not be appropriate for me to comment on an ongoing investigation, other than to say we are thankful in our hearts that there was no loss of life as a result of these horrific attacks.
As of right now, that investigation is still underway. The main feeling that we have is concern for the victims, and for an explosion of that size, the fact that there are no fatalities yet is positive. But in terms of the details, it's unclear. And I know everyone is looking to see what the cause was. Could it potentially be connected to terrorism? No evidence yet.
Now, Trump has been surging ahead of Clinton in these key battlegrounds like Florida, so he's headed back there today, while Clinton is zeroing in on Pennsylvania, trying to focus on winning over millennials. They preferred Bernie Sanders in the primaries, could simply stay home in November. Clinton delivering those remarks today in Philadelphia, not just the birthplace of freedom, but also the birthplace of Clayton Morris.
That's right.
Will be interesting.
Philly has never been the same since.
Yeah, will be interesting to see what they say today, because so much happened overnight.
Right, and if that hashtag #ZombieHillary will still be trending this hour. Fascinating. All right, well, the time now, 39 minutes past the hour. As terrorism takes center stage in the race for the White House, who do voters think will do a better job handling national security?
Now, this is really interesting. Stay tuned. Our political panel on deck up next to weigh in on some brand new Fox News polls.
Just before I got off the plane, a bomb went off in New York, and nobody knows exactly what's going on.
I think we should, again, withhold judgment till we know more about what happened.
Well, on the campaign trail, quick and differing reactions from the candidates to the New York City explosion.
So what does it say about their leadership style? Here to weigh in is managing editor of the Washington Free Beacon, Aaron McLean, and Democratic Ohio State Senator Capri Cafaro. Nice to see both of you this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Good morning.
All right, Capri, look at that. Hashtag was trending this morning, overnight. Zombie Hillary. Mm-hmm. I mean, you had the airplane noise drowning her out. Donald Trump comes off the plane and says right away this was a bomb. Maybe he was privy to some information that Hillary wasn't. I don't know. How do you think that these two played this?
I think that it's obvious to me, at least, that there is a difference between someone who has experience in government versus someone who is a first-time candidate. So Donald Trump, basically jumped on it and said, yes, this is a bomb. And Rudy Giuliani, who obviously supports him, said, this is a terrorist attack, whereas Hillary Clinton presented a much more measured approach. And I think that is reflective of, the fact that Hillary Clinton has, been the Secretary of State. She was a United States Senator, and many people that have experience in government want to avoid creating a sense of panic. They do not want to impede or hamper an active investigation. But at the same time, I think that, the American public is looking for strength, and they may see that measured approach as one of hesitation and one of weakness. And so I think that it'll be interesting to see how the polls play out on this. Obviously, that hashtag is unfortunate, but, when you're dealing with reality, you're dealing with national security, a more measured approach is one that is more traditional.
But then, Aaron, also you have how the mainstream media is covering it as well, because originally Hillary Clinton did use the word bombing, but then she tried to walk that back. We don't hear a lot about that.
She sure did. Look, I think if strategists or folks in Clinton world think that they're going to transform this into a hit on Donald Trump for calling a bombing, a few minutes before that fact was actually confirmed by police, I think they're making a serious mistake. They want this to be a hit on his temperament, but I think the American people are just going to see this as calling a spade a spade. And the real question is what he hasn't been saying, right? He hasn't appeared to go too far in the way that he did, say, after the Orlando bombing. So today, Monday, I'm looking to see, does he overplay his hand again? I haven't seen him do that yet.
Well, that is a great point, Capri, because we saw in the wake of, we saw in Orlando and then, of course, another attack, he kind of came out and was almost sort of seemed like he was promoting himself right afterwards, and a lot of people, even Republicans, jumped down his throat on that.
Yeah, well, we've seen, obviously, a much more measured and restrained Donald Trump since he's taken on Kellyanne Conway as his campaign manager. So I'm not entirely surprised that he's a little bit more measured in how he is approaching this and referring to it as a bomb rather than jumping to radical Islamic terrorism. But, you know, again, I think we really need to wait and see what happens as far as an unfolding investigation on what this really is about. And it's a scary time. You know, we just saw the thing about Elizabeth, New Jersey. And
right.
I think America, 50 days out from an election, is going to look to somebody who's a leader in national security.
Yeah, and we have some new polls that have just been released by Fox News, and we can take a look at possibly what they mean moving into the debate that's coming up. The opinion of the presidential candidates up first: Clinton 45%, Trump 44%. When it comes to favorable, unfavorable, Clinton 54% and Trump 54%. So, Aaron, really a dead heat when it comes to who you like and who you don't like.
It sure is. And, you know, one of the interesting things about this poll is a lot of the negative aspects for both candidates cancel each other out in terms of trustworthiness and in terms of whether they're in it for themselves or in it for the country. But there are some significant differences. Clinton is definitely above water, rightly or wrongly, on competence and qualification. Trump is definitely above water, again, rightly or wrongly, on a change agent. For these terror attacks that are going on this weekend, the Clinton camp clearly wants to emphasize the competence aspect. But I'm not sure, you know, if the American people look at New York, look at Minnesota, and they see these terror attacks, what do you want? Do you want a steady, unemotional hand at the tiller, or do you want somebody who's going to change it, who's going to fundamentally alter the situation? So again, I don't see this necessarily playing against Trump.
Capri, how do Hillary and Donald play this at the debate a week away?
You know, I think that at this point, this shows how confused and conflicted, frankly, the American electorate is. They want, on one hand, they want experience. On the other hand, they want to change the direction of the nation. You know, so I think that the debate is really going to be incredibly important. We already knew that there was going to be a lot weighing in, you know, on this debate, a lot being put on the shoulders of both Hillary and Mr. Trump. So I think they really are going to have to both. I think that Donald Trump in particular is going to have to show that he has the gravitas and the policy acumen to really succeed.
All right, Capri and Aaron, we appreciate you joining us bright and early this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we want to keep talking about the brand new polls for you, the Fox News polls. Who do you trust to do a better job on national security? Log on to the Fox and Friends First Facebook page right after the show for a live debate. Hashtag Keep Talking. And right now, with the Fox News poll, they're pretty much tied for that as well.
Oh, it's all about the ties.
Yeah.
Let's see what Steve Ducey's wearing this morning, what kind of tie he's wearing. What's coming up on Fox and Friends, Mr.
Blue
Hanson?
polka dots. Thank you very much for asking, Clayton. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the trouble here in the New York City, New Jersey area. Two guys walked out of Hector's Place restaurant in Elizabeth last night, 9 o'clock or so. They walk over to the train station. They see on top of a garbage can this great big backpack, and they think, it's kind of heavy. There could be something valuable in there. What do? They walk it about 1,000 feet over to under an underpass, open it up to see what's in there. Wires, pipes. They're bombs. They called the police. The FBI's on location. They accidentally detonated one of them when they apparently clipped the wrong wire. We're going to go to Elizabeth with the very latest because it is a fluid situation. A lot of people are going to be going to New York City this morning to go to work, and they're on edge, Clayton.
Yeah,
and
absolutely
Heather,
right.
Understandably.
Right by there, Newark Airport. Unbelievable, incredibly busy area. So stay tuned to Fox and Friends, which starts in about 10 minutes. Thanks, Steve.
Yep.
Thank you, Steve. And we're not going anywhere yet. Stay tuned. We'll be up after the break.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
A Fox News alert breaking right now. Another bomb exploding overnight, this time at a New Jersey train station.
WNYW's Liz Dahlem is live in Elizabeth, New Jersey, with brand new details on this developing story. Good morning, Liz.
Good morning to you, Clayton and Heather. Yeah, we're live just outside of the Elizabeth, New Jersey train station where that explosion happened overnight. Authorities actually found 5 IEDs inside of a backpack that was hidden in a garbage can here just around 9:30 last night. And when investigators heard of that, they brought in the bomb squad and a drone to examine it and deemed that bomb to be live. When the Union County bomb squad came in and a robot went to cut one of those wires to the device, it exploded. Now, that was not a controlled detonation. That went off on its own once it was probed by that robot. And the mayor of Elizabeth, New Jersey, saying this could have hurt a lot of people, but thankfully there were no injuries. Now, around 9 o'clock last night, 2 men started walking down the corner of North Broad Street and Julian Place and reported seeing wires and a pipe coming from a package outside of the trash. They took it out of the garbage thinking it might be of some value to them, but they dropped it just down the street and noticed it seemed a little suspicious, so they walked to the police station just around the corner to notify authorities. Once it was determined to be a bomb, that prompted New Jersey Transit to suspend service, and Amtrak trains were also held at Penn Station. We can come back out here live. We can show you that again. The police are standing by this area right now, but trains on the Northeast Corridor as well as the North Jersey Coastline Railway have been, service has been restored at this hour. We're told that trains are running with some delays, and of course police are still looking for the people responsible. We're live in Elizabeth, New Jersey. I'll send things back to you in the studio.
All right, thanks so much, Liz. We appreciate it, and we'll be right back.
It is 2 minutes until the top of the hour. Before you leave the house, here's what's happening for you today. The FBI on the scene of another bomb explosion, this time at a train station in Elizabeth, New Jersey. A backpack stuffed with 5 bombs found in a trash can, one bomb exploding as a police robot examined it. It's unclear if the bomb is connected to the explosion in New York City on Saturday night. But 5 people with links to that blast are now in custody.
And security stepped up across New York City today as world leaders, including President Obama, converge on the city. The United Nations is hosting the General Assembly. As a precaution, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is ordering an extra 1,000 officers and National Guard troops to patrol the state.
And opening statements set to begin in the Bridgegate trial. 2 of New Jersey Governor Chris Christie's former associates accused of shutting down the George Washington Bridge for political revenge. Nice to have you joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
I think you're coming back tomorrow, right?
I think I'll be here tomorrow.
You liked it so